Jeffrey Goldberg, the current editor-in-chief of the Atlantic magazine, has faced criticism over his past service as a prison guard in the Israeli Defense Forces, in the IDF. During the First Intifada, his pro-Zionist views were raising questions about potential bias over the magazine's coverage of the Israel-Palestine issue. So the thing is, he's not even apologetic about his Zionist views, which Zionism by itself is already a colonialist idea that one group needs to have this homeland for ethnic, religious purposes, and they can do whatever they want to get it. And that's essentially what it is and always has been. Goldberg served in the IDF nearly 25 years ago, working as a prison guard. One of Israel's largest detention camps for a Palestinian political prisoner. So he was on the ground in this back and forth between Palestine and Israel. He clearly chooses Israel, and nobody chooses Zionism or colonialism or this type of repression. You're built like this. You're indoctrinated like this. So these people know what they're doing. Goldberg is also an outspoken supporter of Zionism and has also been a featured speaker at pro-Zionist events, leading him to be labeled a, quote, liberal Zionist by some. I'm a genocidal. I'm just easygoing about it. That's all. Yeah. Okay. His past IDF service and Zionist views recently led to Goldberg withdrawing from a speaking event at the University of Kentucky. Students had expressed concerns about having a former IDF prison guard speak on democracy and journalism, especially given the current conflict in Gaza. That's amazing. Kids from Kentucky aren't even going to put up with it. So his credibility and objectivity obviously can be called into question. A lot of critics argue that Goldberg's pro-Israel stance and history with the IDF undermine his credibility as an objective journalist and a voice on Middle Eastern issues. I mean, what do you think? They contend that his background compromises the Atlantic's ability to provide unbiased coverage in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. What you see a lot of the times is even subtle things like putting the words, resistance, right? Put the resistance in quotes, put it in air quotes, just to make it seem like it's not legitimate. Anything that the Western media could do to keep this lie going for 75 years, which we all bought, which was, the Middle East is confusing, and those guys just have always fought since the beginning of time, and that's the end of the story. So, that's all. That there's no peace in the Middle East. The real story is actually even simpler than that, which is you took the land from the people. They're pissed about it, and you continue to, stick them in a vice and squeeze it tighter every year, and do things like mow the grass, which you go in with. This is what Israel calls going in and just killing random people, because part of the Machiavellian playbook of keeping people subjugated and under control is random acts of violence, just to make people not, you have no idea what the hell is going to come next. You just, life is cheap, and the senselessness of it is meant to make you feel helpless against your oppressors, which it works sort of masterfully. Yeah, he's got supporters that view him as a reasoned voice defending liberal Zionism, but anybody who has a history book now knows that there's nothing ethical about it. People who are vegan also know that there's no such thing as ethical slaughter when it comes to animals. These are terms that we've created, ethical Zionism, ethical slaughter, there's nothing ethical about it, okay? The controversy surrounding Goldberg's appointment as editor-in-chief has now reignited debates about journalistic objectivity and the potential for bias, particularly when covering complex and contentious issues like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So there's a recent article, Killing Children is Legal, according to The Atlantic. So The Atlantic wrote, and this guy, Graham Wood, he's just a trash journalist. He wrote, "The UN statistics make no sense." This article was pretty criticized in a widespread way for appearing to justify the killing of Palestinian children by the IDF. And it reads like this. It says, quote, "It is possible to kill children legally. If, for example, one is being attacked by an enemy who hides behind them, but the sight of a legally killed child is no less disturbing than that of a murdered one." So, saying we can kill children as long as they're in the way, which is an interesting thought. As long as they're in the way, we can shoot children. That's the new rule. That's where we're at. The statement implies that the Israel's killing of children in Gaza could be considered legal under certain circumstances, such as if Hamas used children as human shields. But there's no credible evidence provided to support this claim against Hamas. So in reality, Israel takes human shields more often, and it's been more reported by more human rights organizations. So just saying. But beyond that, there's no accountability on the battlefield anyway. Wherever there's a war going on, you're going to find the obfuscation of reality, the classification of documents, the burning, and they have burn pits where they just throw in evidence from different military interventions and stuff. Good luck. They don't have body cameras like the police do, which they also very selective about. Human rights groups like Amnesty International have documented numerous instances where Israeli airstrikes directly and indiscriminately targeted civilian areas in Gaza, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of children. Portraying these killings as legal is seen to attempt to justify or rationalize war crimes like Palestinian civilians. It also just blatantly talks about killing children in a way that is whatever acceptable. This is we kill children. We do it like this. It's acceptable. It's very similar to the vegan thing where you say, well, it's fine if you milk feed them and massage them. And if they get to live outdoors, then it's okay. They're strange, just psychological hoops that human beings go through in order to justify the thing that they want to do. And you'll find this across the board with whether it's grandma who wants to have her Dr. Pepper and you tell her that she's not supposed to have it, or entire countries when they decide that they want to start lynching migrants or something. They will say and do and act and do whatever they need to do in order to do what they're going to do, which is drink a Dr. Pepper and lynch migrants. I don't know. The article that was written and this specific quote has been widely condemned online, as it should be, for depraved and unethical, and an example of Western media manufacturing consent for Israel's military actions against Palestinians. It included, revised death toll statistics, framing the mass killing of children as legal. So not great. And it all begs the question, why are we so skewed in the narrative here? What's the deal? Well, I think we all know by now that the media is been co-opted by corporations, like I said at the open. But the difference is, and this is where the conspiratorial minds come in, but really this happens to be fact, we're seeing an unusual or disproportionate amount of pro-Zionist, pro-Israeli people in positions of high power in media and in communications. Now, as much as I wish that this wasn't true and that we'd be going on some old, stigmas and stereotypes, here are 10 enriched, powerful individuals have shown support for Israel. So keeping in mind that in the United States, Jewish people, even Zionists or not, are not necessarily, they're pretty much the furthest thing from a oppressed minority group. They represent about 2% of the population, yet they have Out of every minority group, they have the highest per capita income at about 110,000 per person, which is astronomical compared to a lot of other people I know, but that's neither here nor there. This is just data. Draw whatever conclusions to it you will. Here are 10 rich, powerful individuals who have shown support for Israel. So you had Sheldon Adelson. He was the late billionaire casino mogul, the major donor to pro-Israel causes and Republican candidates that were supportive to Israel. Well, his, I don't think it's her widow or somebody, where the money went to this other lady, and she just gave $100 million to Trump. Miriam Adelson, she just gave a bunch of money to Trump in order to get the West Bank annexed. So dig that. They want to just expand. So it's gotten pretty spicy nowadays, I have to say. It's bad, guys. It's bad. Haim Saban is an Israeli-American media mogul who has donated millions to pro-Israel groups and think tanks. Paul Singer, the billionaire hedge fund manager, is a pro-Israel and hawkish conservative causes. Michael Dell, the billionaire founder of Dell Computers, was among those solicited for the Facts for Peace pro-Israel media campaign. You have Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, who was targeted for Facts of Peace campaign donations. Bill Ackman, of course, we all know Bill Ackman, the billionaire investor who threatened to blacklist pro-Palestinian students who are critical of Israel. He'll go down in history. Barry Sternlicht, the billionaire real estate investor, launched the Facts for Peace Israel media blitz. Elon Musk, of course, he's obviously coming around to being somehow, racist idiot. I don't know. John Hagee, he's an evangelical pastor with a history of anti-Semitic rhetoric. And Toby Robinson, the idiot from the UK who's made a career out of spewing hatred, probably funded by Mossad, the Israeli spy agency. But nevertheless, beyond that, you can go look for yourself what kind of CEOs of media companies right now happen to be pro-Zionist and support Israel. You'll find most people in any form of establishment in the United States support Israel because they have to and because they want to, and strategically it's just it has to be that way. We have no other option but to keep on with this globalist idea of imperialism abroad, the military-industrial complex, and having other people in poorer countries make our stuff for us and then import it, while systematically having the IMF and the World Bank and BlackRock give out toxic loans to countries and trap them in a cycle of debt. This is a neo-colonialist, imperialist sort of thing that we're in right now, and that's it. So, and another thing is Israel is a symbol of injustice everywhere, okay? Israel's treatment of Palestinians is a stain on the ideals of human rights and a betrayal of the enlightened values that it claims to uphold. The relentless expansion of these illegal settlements, the draconian restrictions on Palestinian movement, and the collective punishment inflicted on Gaza amount to an apartheid system of oppression. This is not a conflict between equal adversaries or a war like they call it, but the subjugation of an occupied people by a regional military superpower backed by the world's greatest power and largest arms dealer. The Israeli government, their actions display a callous disregard for the most basic tenets of human dignity. Demolishing homes, imprisoning children, denying people freedom and movement and self-determination. And to witness this injustice and to remain silent, to be complicit, too many people in the West try to avert their eyes. They're gripped by a misguided deference to the historical trauma of the Holocaust. One can acknowledge that atrocity while condemning how its memory is distorted to justify fresh atrocities against Palestinians. To do otherwise is an insult to the victims of the Nazi genocide. A genocide is a genocide, and it doesn't matter who's doing it, but you know it when you see it. And right now, it's clear. The hard truth is that Israel will never be a normal state until it grants full rights and citizenship to those people whose lands it has occupied and absconded with. It presents a course that leads only to a downward spiral of oppression, resentment, and violence that's degrading to both sides. A just, lasting peace requires Israel to dismantle its apartheid system and allow the creation of a viable Palestinian state or a binational democracy with equal rights for everybody. Anything less is just perpetual injustice. And that's where we're at. And it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon. It looks